It's great to have you here tonight for this webinar. I'm Dr. David Hastie, the Associate Dean of Education Development and also the Acting Head of Education at Alpha Crucis. And it's a wonderful thing for us to come together with you and to share a little bit of our journey and also to be able to answer some of your questions. It's an important time for everyone. It's been a pretty bumpy ride the last 6 months, as I'm sure you'll all agree. There's still a few bumps to come, but one of the things that we can really start thinking about is some certainty about early entry offers into tertiary based on Year 11 results. And I'm sure there's other sorts of questions that you'd want to ask as well. And so welcome one and all. I'm going to introduce the panelists tonight. So we might move to the second slide there, Luke. And you'll see there on the screen that we've got Professor Mark Hutchinson, who's the Dean of the Faculty of Business, Arts, Social Sciences and Education. And Professor Hutchinson is a very distinguished international historian. He's also my boss. So of course I would say such a thing, wouldn't I? No, really, really. He knows a great deal about all sorts of things, and it's a great privilege to have him here tonight. Dr. Rebecca Launder is the Head of Social Sciences, also a clinical psychologist, and works closely with a lot of critical care groups in our society and also churches. And we have Keith McPherson, who's one of the key business lecturers. And Keith is that wonderful fusion of theology, ministry and business. And of course, we've got also with us here tonight, Philip Lee, Associate Professor Philip Lee, who is a senior lecturer in the School of Business as well. On the panel, though, we've also got Sam Stewart, who works in student services, marketing and recruitment. And he's going to be helping out with the Q&A and basically keeping me on track. And there's a couple of others who are with us as well. Luke Simpson, who's with Student Services and Marketing, and Michael Liu, our Head of Marketing. So welcome to all of you. I'm just wondering, I can see the panelists' faces there. Luke, I can't see the participants' faces. Is that the way it's meant to be?
Yes.
It is, okay.
Yeah. So we'll be having messages come through the group chat. So if you can post them in the Q&A section or in the chat function, that would be great. So any questions throughout the talk.
Yes, awesome. So there'll be a chance for online open air questions towards the end. But as you have ongoing questions, please put them into the chat, and that way we can address them as they arise, as needed. Okay. So if I might, what is it about Alpha Crucis that makes us a bit different? I mean, there's all sorts of tertiary options out there in the world. You've got big public universities, you've got all sorts of colleges of all sorts of sizes and shapes. Alpha Crucis is a particular kind of college. And I think probably the key thing that sets us apart is that we are a Christian affiliated college, and we take that very seriously. That's not just a nominal thing. That's a thing that we see as at the heart of what we do. And so we're actually, we teach everything with a view to how does that align with our Christian worldview. You don't have to be a Christian to come to this college at all. In fact, we have people of all faiths and none come to our college from overseas, from here in domestic student markets. And so we're welcoming. We welcome everyone to our college, but we are a Christian affiliated college, and that's one of the things that really we hold as a core value. We also see that Alpha Crucis is about not just a qualification, but is about a pathway towards a flourishing. And so we see that students are a part of a community, and it's an important thing to be connected when you're coming to college. So you're not just a number on a sheet in an Excel spreadsheet in some big institution, but there's a lot of student care, high-level student care. we encourage people to have a real sense of what their calling is. What is your vocation? Where do you think you sit in the world in terms of how you can make a contribution? And to that end, you know, we really believe that people are called to go into different places of work, places of service, which is one of the reasons why we focus so much on service-oriented professional careers, education and social sciences and ministry and business with theology and so forth. And folks, we're very proud of the fact that we've got campuses in six states. We've got campuses overseas. We're the largest non-Catholic Christian-affiliated tertiary provider in the country, with about 4,000 students. And it's a great network. We're connected with several churches, several denominations. So obviously the Pentecostal movement, the big churches like Hillsong and like Triple C, and the Anglican Church around the country we're quite connected with. The Catholic Church, particularly in regional Australia, we're connected with, and all other sorts in between. So we're a part of a really interesting movement in Australia at this time. And so we're really looking forward to you asking questions about what makes Alpha Crucis distinctive. We're kind of like that, you know, high quality gem, if you like. Not as big as some of the bigger institutions, but shining really brightly. Can we move on to the next slide then, please? Well, obviously, we've got student testimonials. We've got a lot of students who've graduated from Alpha Crucis. And you can see there on the panel, Abigail, who's graduated with the Bachelor of Applied Social Science. And then you've got Charlie, who's an education graduate. And then you've got Melissa, Diploma of Music Industry. If you go to the Alpha Crucis website, you're going to see lots and lots of different student testimonials. There's a student satisfaction survey that goes out across all universities every year called the Quilt Survey. And Alpha Crucis is coming in every year with a 95% student satisfaction rating. So there's a lot of student satisfaction related to the services and the courses and the community at Alpha Crucis. And if you're interested in seeing more of those testimonials, then I encourage you to go to the website and you'll see them there. Well, let's keep moving on the slides. And at this point, I might ask some of my colleagues to hop in and say their piece about the different courses. I'm wondering perhaps if Keith and Philip, you want to have maybe Mark, have a chat about business.
It probably surprises people to know exactly how extensive the faith-based industry in Australia is. About 60% of Australians, if they need to access social care, for example, will do that through a faith-based organisation. And more than 40% of people who are going to matriculate this year, just like you are, will matriculate from a faith-based school. And so it's really, you know, something to think about, that if you're thinking about a caring profession, most of the caring professions that you might be thinking about in terms of coming out as an undergraduate dealt with precisely through the sorts of programs that we deal with here. And that includes, you know, management and business for social good. And we have students who work in the management of large NGOs, working for the good of people, people who go off and to work in hospitals and education, and also out in business. We have an entrepreneurship program which is currently operating through schools. So if you're thinking about not just doing well, but also doing good, then a faith-oriented business program is probably the program for you. And so I'll hand it over now to Associate Professor Lee, who might like to talk about our Bachelor of Business, and then perhaps if you're thinking about combining a few things, then Keith will say something else about the Diploma of Business. So over to you, Phil.
Thank you. So really, business is all around us, and no matter what sphere of activity you're going to go into, at some point somebody's got to manage that and somebody's got to run it. And whether it's running a church or a huge organization, at the end of the day, the business principles are all still the same. So the Bachelor of Business there is in the middle of the course offering. It's a 3-year degree, and it's of the highest quality kind of program. So we've got a quality business program, the envy of many of the larger institutions. So we also can then combine that for students that are interested in doing ministry or theology. And, you know, nowadays we have to be entrepreneurs and we have to be able to do ministry well. We also have to have ways of funding that. So a lot of people are finding that they also have to be running entrepreneurial businesses alongside that. So those are very interesting kinds of combinations. It does add another year to the degree, but you end up doing a full Bachelor of Business and a full Bachelor of Ministry or Bachelor of Theology. And then if you're not really quite up to wanting to do a 3-year degree, we have a Diploma of Business. Keith, do you want to take over there?
Yeah, absolutely. I think as Phil said, with regards to the Bachelor of Business, I think the Diploma of Business is a really well-rounded course. It is not simply the first year subjects put together in there as an early exit point. It is in and of itself a well-rounded course. And the Christian focus is really significant. What I like about it is that we're teaching students to understand that work can be done for the glory of God and the serving the needs of others. And so we're integrating those business skills, those work skills with our faith. And I think that's unique and sets us apart. And so maybe your parents listening, maybe you chose to send your kids to a Christian school, a high school, and I think that's a wonderful choice. So why not continue that sort of thinking on as you go into tertiary education to see where that faith integration with the whole of life leads. And then in our Diploma of Business, that's one of the key facets we're doing. And it's also a high coaching style of course. That is, if you're unsure about, gee, how do I write the essay? Maybe I'm not that confident with math. Maybe I'm scared to go into the bachelor program. Well, the intent of the Diploma of Business is to really prepare you so that when you get 1 year's worth of credit into the Bachelor of Business, you're really well set up and good to go. And so it's a well-rounded course that takes seriously the Christian faith, but also looks to actually meet everybody where they are and prepare them appropriately. And you can see down the bottom there, Sam Tomko is a great student that I had a couple of years ago. He moved back to America, was involved in 2 businesses, but just in the last month, he's actually got a haircut, got married, and moved to Norway. So it's wonderful as well, the relationships that we at Alpha Crucis are able to have with students, and they continue after graduation as well.
The haircut's not mandatory, of course, Keith, is it?
No, not at all. No.
Thanks, gentlemen, talking about business there. I think it's fascinating. Yeah, I mean, we've got participants here from Christian schools, but we've also got participants here, I know, from Hoxton Park High School. We've got Narara Valley High, Bonnyrigg, Engadine, St Mary's Senior High, Barrel High School. So we've actually got quite a few people on this webinar who are coming from state schools. But again, we've got we've got people here from MacKillop and Bathurst. We've got people in Victoria. You know, we're holding out for you folks down there. You're doing it tough. You're in our thoughts and prayers. We've got people, you know, from Bellambi in the Illawarra, and we've got Cedars down in the Illawarra as well, and of course St Phillips. And so welcome one and all. And I'm wondering, perhaps we might now listen to Dr. Launder to give us a bit of information about the social sciences.
Sure, thanks David, and great hearing from you, Phil, Keith and Mark. So everyone, another area of study that we offer at Alpha Crucis College is that in the social sciences. Sometimes it's quite a broad topic, but it actually covers, and you'll see on here where we look at the different majors that we offer in our courses. And at a bachelor level, we have a Bachelor of Applied Social Science, And as you'll see on here, students can choose to major in counselling, chaplaincy, youth work, cross-cultural studies as well, through to a generalist social science award where they might like to take some subjects from some of the other areas as well that the college offer. We also more recently commenced our undergraduate certificate in community services. So it's a 4-unit award, and students can do that as I guess it's a good taster for an entry into a bachelor level studies. But again, within our Bachelor of Applied Social Science, students are actually able to choose a major. So for example, if a student chooses counselling, chaplaincy, or possibly youth work, what we actually do there, while you make your way through the course, we actually ensure like you're supported, as like Keith was chatting about in business, within social science, we come alongside you as you go through your studies. But also with that, if a person is wanting to be able to practice as a qualified counsellor, our bachelor course equips you to do that, as long as you pass and go through all the different requirements of the program. As well, within our chaplaincy, the bachelor with the chaplaincy major, a person's able to register with Chaplaincy Australia and also meet the credentials and the requirements for other chaplaincy accreditation bodies as well. Similarly, we also offer at a Cert 4 and a higher ed diploma level, also chaplaincy and community service studies as well. However, people are often, with such a broad name as social science, what are some of the graduate opportunities? And as you can see on here, we have being a counsellor, a chaplain, a youth worker. There's a lot at the moment. There's a demand for community workers and support workers in a broad range of roles, both within the church and within sort of the help or the service arms of the church, but also within the community. And we find in our area, as with a lot of the sort of professional areas we train people in at Alpha Crucis, is that people want to find practical ways both within the church and in the community to outwork their faith, or possibly even to be able to really, they have on their heart to be able to help other people. And we see that these sort of courses within social science are a great next step, possibly for students that have done society and culture or some of those sort of other units at school, but also for those that have a genuine desire to help other people, be it, as I say, in counselling. So for example, some people also combine their majors. So somebody might want to be a counsellor but work with young people. So we're able to help students actually establish the best sort of course of study to do that. So we want to, again, welcome you all here this evening. Thank you for your interest, and feel free to ask more questions around social science if you have them. So back over to you, David.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. And I think it's probably, it's time for me to talk about education. I mean, obviously, probably not the most important topic, but the one I know most about. So I tend to think it's quite important. Folks, we live in very, very interesting times in Australian education. Everyone's just discovered how valuable teachers are once again, because they had to all be teachers at home, and there were several expulsions after one day of homeschooling, I believe. That's what I was told, parents expelling their own children from their schools, from their home schools. So the teaching profession is riding, I suppose, what it really deserves. That is a great deal of honour. And I taught in schools for 18 years across 4 different schools, 4 different schooling movements, both in the city and in the bush. And I never once went to bed at night thinking I didn't do anything good today. Right? It is a thoroughly rewarding career. And so if you look at the screen, you'll see that we offer a range of courses in education. I'll start at the ones that people mostly know about, and that is the Bachelor of Education Primary and the Bachelor of Education Secondary. These are your teaching qualifications. And so if you want to become a teacher in New South Wales, which then translates to Australia because New South Wales awards are accepted in all other states, then these are the courses that you need to do to become a teacher. We also have the Diploma of Arts is a 1-year entry option into teaching, perhaps for people who are coming in through a different pathway, perhaps for people who need to demonstrate that they can meet meet a certain standard, because in education you do need to meet a certain standard that is 3 band 5s or equivalent in your HSC. One of them has to be in English. And so some people come in from different walks of life, different careers and so forth, and they need to go through a Diploma of Arts for the first year, which is essentially then upgrades into the Bachelor of Education, and stands as the equivalent of the first year of the Bachelor of Education if you reach the certain standards. So you can go into Bachelor of Education Primary if you want to be a primary teacher, and we're about to start offering in 2022 we're going to be offering birth to year 12, so it'll be an early childhood degree as well. We currently also have the undergraduate certificate in teacher preparation, and like its equivalent in social sciences, it's like a taster. So you do basically 4 units, and that's in the online mode. However, we actually have different ways of delivering education. One is through your standard kind of arrangement where a student is attending a tertiary college. But we also have these things that we call the teaching school hubs. There's one in the Newcastle area, the Hunter area, with the St Philip's group of schools. There's another one operating in Sydney currently, and that's with an alliance of schools, some of which you would have heard of, like the Scots College, St Andrew's Cathedral School, William Clark College, Innerborough School in the Shire, and Blue Mountains Grammar School. And with these arrangements, the schools themselves select candidates to come into the teaching school, where they're actually trained as a cohort, and from day one have on-the-job training in classrooms. They get half of their tertiary fees sponsored, and they have 1 day a week paid work as a teacher's aide, and virtual guaranteed employment at the other end. And that's just a way that the schools have of starting to have more care and control and input into the way that teachers are trained, so that at the other end they don't need to spend a great deal of time sort of inducting teachers to fit into their particular cultures. So that's a really interesting opportunity that's happening currently in Australian education. We're the only tertiary institution in this country to offer that. We use this model called the clinical teaching model, which is the on-the-job training. A couple of other tertiary institutions like the University of Melbourne, University of New South Wales are using versions of the clinical teaching model, but we're the only ones who currently have an arrangement where the groups of schools are selecting students to go in this cohort. It's a fairly competitive process, and if you're interested in applying for those teaching school alliances, you should go to the St Philip's Christian School website, or go to the Teaching School Alliance Sydney website, and you'll see some of the details. I'll put those addresses in the chat in a moment when I've stopped yabbering on. I can't talk and type at the same time, folks. I was born before people did that, not naturally. So Australian education, fascinating place to be, and we're thinking about training people in completely unique ways. The Alpha Crucis model with the clinical teaching model and the Teaching School Alliance is really interesting a lot of people in government and in education, because it's producing a much higher quality teacher and a much lower dropout rate from student training, actually. So we've got a 95% success rate in terms of people not leaving those particular trainings, whereas in large institutions, the teacher training courses have quite a high, what we call, attrition rate. So education, love it, totally recommend it. And Mark, I might just get you to speak a bit more broadly about a couple of the other options that we offer in arts, theology and ministry.
David, just one thing before Mark comes in. Sorry, Mark. We've had a question, David, from an anonymous attendee. How do majors and minors work in the Bachelor of Secondary Education, if you're able to answer that?
Yeah, absolutely. So in education, there's a lot of what we call education method courses, but if you're doing a Bachelor's of Education secondary, then you need to do specialist subjects that are actually not about teaching method. They are specialty subjects in a specialty discipline. And so 6 of the units in a degree will be your major, and 4 of the units in the degree will constitute your minor. And so there's 32 units in a Bachelor of Education. And so out of the total across the 4 years of study, you've got your 10 of those units are your specialty units. I hope that helps.
All good. On to Mark.
Okay, great. Well, we're a full spectrum. We're the only non-Catholic Christian full spectrum college in the country. That means if you were thinking of doing, say, the liberal arts, you could come to Alpha Crucis College and study history and geography and all the sorts of things, which then, of course, make a great entree into teacher education as well. So you can not only come and study what you're interested in, you can actually then go on and actually get a job doing that later on in life. We have a very good music industry program where young people come through and they study to go into the recording industry, for example. We've got a screen and media diploma where young people can go straight into the music industry, or you can also go and use those same qualifications in an education setting. We are probably the largest trainer of chaplains in the country in Dr. Lownder's area. So if you are interested in helping people, you often see people on television, for example, wearing those yellow vests when they're wandering around fire grounds, or there's been a disaster somewhere, or several years ago when there was an earthquake in Indonesia, you saw Australian chaplains walking around helping people. And many of those people were actually trained at Alpha Crucis College and through our program. And so that also counts for people. You might want to help people in hospitals or in other sorts of places. So there are lots of options. We have chaplains working with sporting teams, for example, like the Cronulla Sharks and various other major sporting teams around the country have our chaplains associated with them. So there's lots of things you can do. If you're a keen musician and you're interested in going into music industry, or if you're also interested in going into say the worship arts, which are associated with schools, we have a very good worship arts program. And over the next few years, as of the end of next year, you'll be able to study a full Bachelor of Arts program at Alpha Crucis College, which will take you, well, I mean, you can say, where can I go? You can pretty much go wherever you like with one of those programs. So as a full spectrum higher education institution, which offers everything from certificates all the way through to PhD, Alpha Crucis is a place where you can imagine a future and you can find a program which will suit you.
Well, thank you so much, Mark. And keep those questions coming as they arise. Well, obviously, one of the things that we've been dealing with this year is COVID. It's been pretty awful. You know, we've all been involved, and so it's one of those times in history that's a real challenge. One of the things we've done by way of trying to help out in that situation is come up with this scheme to offer early entry based on Year 11 results, and I'm sure that some of you here are going through that process. Just how does it work if you haven't already done it? When you complete your AC application form, you need to submit a copy of your pre-2020 Year 11 grades and rankings signed by your year coordinator and other school executive members, and then we will assess your application and assign an ATAR equivalent grade based on your Year 11 results. We don't just pluck that out of the air. We're actually using a quite sophisticated formula that's being used by other universities as well, because as you would have heard, that a number of universities are offering a similar scheme. And so, obviously we want to be there as a Christian affiliated college, making sure that we can do some heavy lifting. You guys have been lifting a lot by yourselves this year. Hopefully in New South Wales, you might get a school formal. We just heard today, but it won't be in the next couple of weeks. So hold on to that, that formal dress and go easy on the spray tan. That's all I say. Just go easy on the spray tan. I've seen some disasters in my years at a schooling that I'm sure present company excluded. You can then be admitted to any AC program for which your ATAR equivalent grade meets the entry requirements for which you'd otherwise be eligible. And we'll inform you and put out a letter of offer if it's a successful application. There's a lot of uncertainty around, folks, and I know people have got really frazzled and a bit scared, but we're here to help, and we will field whatever queries you want to throw at us. We're here to help. We'll listen to what you have to say, the questions you've got to ask, and make sure that if you have any uncertain questions, talk to us. Talk to your careers advisors as well if you're at school, because we've spoken with a number of your careers advisors, and they're well briefed, and we've spoken with your school principals as well. So we just want to welcome you, and we want to make this a pathway that's relatively smooth. We've also got a few scholarships going there as well. I mean, everyone likes to hear about a scholarship. Obviously, you've got your High Achiever Scholarship, which is your fairly mainstream one. That is eligibility based on minimum ATAR equivalent grade of 85, based on the Year 11 results. And scholarships will be awarded to those who have the highest actual marks from the range of applicants who apply for business, education or social science courses. Notification in early December. So that's going to be a fairly competitive scholarship. Another one that's really is a sort of Alpha Crucis signature, and that is your Community Impact Scholarship. We recognise that, yes, the smarts need to get scholarships. Thumbs up, good. Everyone's working hard. But those of you who are working hard in the human coalface, that is community impact. Are you involved in ministry, leadership, volunteerism, sports, arts, cultural activities, spheres of influence? Well, apply. Apply for a Community Impact Scholarship as a part of your application, because we recognise that that's just as important as getting high marks. In fact, probably more important in some contexts. And a number of you are already working in churches and in clubs, sports clubs, and so forth. A number of you might be prefects at school. You might have been involved in service learning activities. You might have been involved in some sort of activity that's contributed to this world. So make sure that you apply for those. Can we move on to the next slide, please? All right, so study modes, and here I'm going to flick to Sam Stewart. He's the man to talk about this. Sam.
Hello, everyone. It's wonderful to have you all here and to be joining you on this evening. I appreciate your time, especially as I know all of you probably had work and school today and whatnot. So talking about the different study modes, as was mentioned previously, we have campuses all over Australia, and we also have an online campus, often referred to as the global online campus, because there's no limit to where you can be. As long as you've got an internet connection, you can access the course materials, lectures, all of the reading materials, everything. More and more and more in our internet age, the access is available through the internet, and you're not disadvantaged by distance. You're not disadvantaged by access to a library or a campus. That's been a wonderful blessing to us as a college when COVID hit, because our global online campus was quite mature. We'd had it for over 10 years. We were right there at the very beginning, testing the limits of technology with tapes back in the day, over 2 decades ago, and DVDs, and mailing out VHS cassettes for video communications, the whole lot. So when the advantages of the internet became apparent, we established an online campus. And so when COVID hit early this year, look, it was a tremendous effort from all the staff and our teachers and administrators, but our online campus was ready to receive all our students. And so the strength of that campus has really just demonstrated itself in this period, that so many students who now have had to stay at home, have had to study at home, have had to limit their movements, have still been able to continue their studies uninterrupted. Now, we certainly hope that COVID and the coronavirus continues to be gotten under control, and very soon we'll be able to gather. Some campuses have had limited gathering. I know, for instance, say our Perth campus, because West Australia have done so well to control the virus, and they've put up a big wall to stop mining magnates flying in or whatever. You can Google
They call
that
it
later.
the rabbit-proof fence, don't they?
They do, yes. So for the time being, the online campuses, there's a big focus on that now. Things hopefully will have changed significantly for 2021 semester one, but there's no reason for us or anybody to be particularly nervous or worried. Our online campus, our global online campus, has been long established and is doing fantastically well. I know, for instance, Rebecca Lounder has spent a lot of time. We've got a little TV studio in our Sydney campus, and she spent a lot of time in front of the camera filming lectures with really great sound quality, with really great video quality. And that means that's just one example of a lot of the, basically 99% of our courses are equipped for online studies, and you can go into those, you can enroll in those knowing that the videos are there, the lecture quality is there. You've got real live lecturers running these courses. You've got real life tutors ready to support and receive and coach you through the courses. So we're all hoping that COVID comes to an end soon, but the college, wonderful news that Alpha Crucis College has continued uninterrupted during this period, and our online campus has been tested and passed with outstanding flying colours. So that's a bit of an introduction there. On campus, like was mentioned, we have a campus here in Sydney where I'm talking to you from. We have a campus in Melbourne. All our love and encouragement to anyone with us from Victoria. We think you're champions dealing with the lockdown. We have a campus in Hobart, lovely Hobart, the Eden of Hobart at the moment. They're doing very well. We have Perth, we have Adelaide, we have Brisbane. So the chances are there's a campus in a capital city near you. So if you do a course that has timetable classes at that campus, you can join on campus face-to-face, or you can join online if that's more convenient for you. And beyond that, if you're studying online because your local campus doesn't have the particular course or specialty that you're doing because you've got a very specific interest, there are libraries on all those campuses, so you can access study materials. There's a campus community that you can seek support from. And there's also, beyond that, there's online support in both what you'd find in classes. There's a student support team who have student success resources embedded with them. There's lots of ways that you can connect with us online. You can see here mixed, and I've basically outlined that. You probably get the feeling and the sense that you can enroll in both face-to-face classes and online classes. So you've got the opportunity to double the size of your timetable options by considering the online timetable next to your on-campus timetable. If you're located in one of the hubs that were mentioned earlier, you've got the opportunity there to expand your options and the way you tackle your study modes. The final item there is intensives, and this is really a unique blend of study. So I've described the online classes where you're using the internet to access all your resources. The face-to-face class is something we'd all recognize, being in a classroom, making friends and building relationships with your class colleagues as your lecturer guides you through a course week by week. An intensive is a combination of both of those things. On the one hand, you are attending usually a week, a Monday through Friday, classes in person, live, on a campus, at a location, and getting all of your lecture materials given to you face-to-face. So you get the advantage of that face-to-face content. All of the semester's lectures are condensed into a week. So that's where the word intense comes from. It's all of the lectures, all of the content, with the advantage of just really just being in a classroom environment, experience the content, learning the content in a live format. After that first intensive week, it switches into what would be comparable to an online class. You're in an online community, your timetable and calendar of assessments and the semester ahead of you proceeds like a normal semester, usually 13 to 15 weeks long. And you've had the advantage of all the lectures at the front, live and in person, but then you're submitting your assignments, you're doing the tutorials, you're keeping up to date with your work over the course of the semester. Now that's the basic structure of an intensive, and it's another option that's available to you in various courses that have been described earlier, giving you a balance, you know, the face-to-face contact with your lecturer at the very beginning, and then the online flexibility of being able to do your assignments without any timetable time to be in a class. Now there are variations on that often, but that's the basic structure of an intensive. The student support slide has come up, and I touched on that earlier. There's multiple levels and ways to get support and contact and coaching and help when you're at the college. Primarily in the classroom, but also through the student support team you can see described there on your screen. This is a team, they're generalists, they know all the different courses, they know all the different subjects, and they're people that you can ring up, they're people that you can email, you can instant message them through our online learning platform, and you can get advice on your enrollment, you get advice on how to shape your specialties, what was the word major was used beforehand, but how to select and cater the subjects in your course to what you want to do and what you want to achieve. You can get assistance on your assignments and your assessments. There's a whole vast array of learning materials and study assistant materials that you can access online, and they can be your guide. Student support can be your guide. They can also provide pastoral care. It's listed as counselling on your screen. Here at Alpha Crucis College, we're very concerned not just about you making your grades and completing all your tasks on time, but we're keen on you being grown and developed and matured as a whole person. And amidst the challenges of study and the challenges of life, there are often things that we see come along that we don't anticipate, and there are counselling and support services available through the college. We have pastoral care services, we have specific counselling services available through Dr. Rebecca Lownder's department itself. That can be done in-house, and that's just a brief description of what's available. Beyond that, we are an equal opportunity enroller. So if you have a particular learning condition or specific learning needs, we have tools and capabilities to make sure that you can access all the materials you need and that you have every possible chance and every possible opportunity of achieving with Alpha Crucis College. So there are unique resources there for you as well. The AC online content, the nature of that, and I described some of it before, you can do, I said 99% of our courses, pretty much all of our courses are available online. So if you're located remotely, if you're locked down, if you're restricted in movements, whatever it might be, you can access and complete your courses. Student life, connecting with the college is very, very important. And this is something that's highly modified at the moment, but all campuses host a weekly chapel service. And so that's just worship and gathering. If you're a Christian and you have faith, that's something that you're definitely encouraged to be a part of. If you're just curious or interested, you can come along as well, but it's by no means compulsory, but highly encouraged. And it's something for the life of the college, the students and the staff to be a part of and center college life around Christian faith and worship. Student Representative Council, if you'd like to represent your student body, get some experience, in the college and represent the needs of your peers, that's there as well. And you can represent the student life to the administration of the college there and advocate for student needs in a formal way. All of the campuses have public meeting space. The Sydney campus has a courtyard which hosts a concert every year. Various campuses host barbecues, gatherings, evenings with nibbles and whatnot. So there's things on the calendar that you can be a part of to connect with the campus, whether you're studying on campus or not. There are staff and student lunches that are put on during semester when we can gather, and they're usually a highlight because the food that's put on is usually pretty special, something local, something nice. Ping pong's a big feature in the Sydney campuses. I know other campuses have other ways of socialising, but there are competitions and activities like that throughout the campus life that you can be a part of. Study tours and missions trips are listed there. I'll highlight one of those. There are biblical study tours. So if you're keen on the Bible and you want to go see the Bible lands, there's every on year, off year, there's an Old Testament and then a New Testament study tour that goes to the Bible lands, and you can go and see and visit and taste and touch the places where, you know, the Apostle Paul walked and where the people of Israel were gathered. So that's a fantastic opportunity to earn credit in most circumstances there. And mission trips. If you're a person of faith and you'd like to experience and work cross-culturally, there are opportunities to travel overseas to places like Thailand and India and be a part of that, and even in many cases earn credit for subjects through those opportunities. So that's a quick overview there. Now, the on-campus experience, I hope you enjoy meeting your teachers and creating friendships with colleagues and people that are like you. When you reach college, you've got the opportunity to do that even more, because the courses that you're going to be a part of are going to be filled with people that are just like you, who have selected a goal, they've got a career in mind, they've got some kind of skill or course that they want to be a part of, and just like you have. They've selected a similar course, they've selected similar subjects. So you get to be amongst them. Our lecturers are world-class, fully qualified. They travel the world when they're allowed to attend lectures and give keynotes. They've got their, they've got their study and specialties as a part of their world, and you have a fantastic opportunity to rub shoulders with them and find out about what makes them tick, what makes them so special, and what makes them experts in their areas. I mentioned libraries beforehand. There are libraries, and we'll skip to Q&A because you've probably listened to me enough already, and I just thank you so much for your time. So if you do have any questions, the Q&A checkbox is down the bottom there. You can just anonymously enter that there, and I'll just pull up that there, and I'll answer a few questions live. I'll flick to some of our guest panelists to answer some of these questions, and I've got one here. What if I already got accepted for early entry into this college, but I didn't go for the Community Impact Society scholarship? How could I still apply? Well, that's entirely easy to do. What we'll do is basically we just need to direct you to the application form to highlight your interest in this particular scholarship. And what I might do is, I think Luke is probably in the background there. He can post that as the link that, okay, Michael's answered there. You can go back into the online application or email it to the future students email there, which is very easy to do. At this point, futurestudents@ac.edu.au. If you remember one web address or email address from this session, that's a catch-all. You can contact us there with whatever questions you might have. If you're feeling a bit lost or you're not sure what to do next, or even just want an update on your application, you can contact us at futurestudents@ac.edu.au, and we can get in touch with you straight away and make sure you know what's happening and where you're at. Let's have a look here. Are there any other questions that are open? I can't see any questions there. Is there anything else, Luke? Are you available?
We've got questions in the chat rather than the Q&A one, Sam.
Oh, okay. Yep. I'll just go.
We've had a lot that were on the RSVPs to us.
Sorry, so, the RSVPs. Say again.
They're in the chat one.
I can answer one question. There was one about early entry in Brisbane for social science. And yes, definitely you can apply for any of our wherever we're offering the degree programs or any of our programs, you can apply for early entry, Brisbane included. We have a wonderful group at our Brisbane campus. So yeah, it'd be great for anyone who'd like to apply up there.
Someone asked earlier about if any specialist equipment was required for the diploma in music industry. I answered in chat, but if that wasn't seen, not at all. I mean, you do need a computer and access to the internet, but it doesn't need to be some amazing machine. Just a regular computer is fine. And you'll also want to have access to an iPad of some kind. Again, it doesn't need to be the latest. The great thing about the internet world that we live in nowadays is the software required to complete the Diploma of Music Industry online is either free or very, very affordable. And so what you get is a foundational course for understanding what's required in the Australian music industry, everything from ensemble performance in your instrument of choice, right through to copyright management and the foundational skills for mixing and mastering recordings. So yeah, it's not something that you need specialist equipment online, which is why you can do it 100% online if you need to. Now, someone has asked, is there a missions major in any of our degrees? If you're passionate about ministry, missions, and cross-cultural ministry, what you would do is you would do the Bachelor of Ministry. There's any number of subjects you can do as a part of that. Things like you can study cross-cultural communication, you can study the foundations of missions, you can also study other religions and come to understand other worldviews. That's the degree that you pursue there, the Bachelor of Ministry.
And Sam, also in social science, people,
of course,
they want to do the cross-cultural area, and within that there are some ministry units as well and some electives.
Yeah,
so some people want to sort of do either focus, I guess, ministry first or the social science is the major part.
It's worthwhile thinking too, Sam, that if you're thinking of working overseas, either through an NGO or helping people out, it could be in businesses, etc. Many people now find either the combined degree or something with a practical outcome much more helpful, simply because it's easier to travel with that sort of thing. You can support yourself, but increasingly also many governments are now requiring a professional qualification for you to be able to work in country. Think not just about, in a sense, the content of the course, but what you want to do with it on the other side. And you'll find there's lots of good advice with social sciences or education or business. All of those things can be combined with missions and theology and actually then produce great outcomes when you arrive on the other side of the border.
That's a great point there. The teacher finds deployment on the mission field, so to speak. The person who has counselling skills, can work as a social worker, can find deployment on the mission fields, not just that person that's equipped for ministry or theology or whatever it might be. And the business, someone who has a practical business outlook, that'd be exactly the kind of qualification you'd seek if you were to think about starting business or working in business overseas. So all of the prongs of our specialties in our schools here at Alpha Crucis College can combine and, access subjects into cross-cultural studies, that sort of thing.
And something else you might like to think about is the fact that we offer many of our programs beginning in schools. So over the next couple of years, you'll be able to take agriculture, for example. You'll be able to take tourism, hospitality, and so there are vet programs that you can combine with your graduates, with your undergraduate studies, which can give you the additional skills. So every undergraduate degree is established with the minimum requirement for you to pass. But that's not to say that you can't do other things as well. So, I mean, when I went to university, for example, I got really interested in psychology and languages and all sorts of stuff. So I ended up doing 3 majors. Now, that made the university scratch their head a bit, but it has everything I've done professionally ever since has used all of those elements of those 3 majors. So, knock yourself out, don't go for the minimum. Really just get intellectually excited and challenged by the opportunities. And if you've got something that you want to do, you want to mix theology and business, you want to mix some ministry or some music or whatever with our education programs, then many of those things can be done. It just takes a step forward, ask the question, and we'll help you through.
Okay, there's a question that's come through in the chat about the closing date for the scholarship, and do we need to have our application to the college confirmed before we apply for it? Who would like to answer that particular one? Just a bit more information on the scholarship.
Yeah, Sam, this is Michael. I'll answer that one.
Great.
The closing date for the scholarship is the same closing date as the early offers, which is the end of November. So as long as you get your application in before then, you will qualify.
Michael, can I ask, when do the early entry offers get made?
So we're actually going to make the offers, as long as we get a complete and authorized year 11 result that we can use to assess an ATAR, and that ATAR meets our entry requirements, we will make an offer. And we've sort of said that it would be done definitely within 2 weeks of that time period, maybe sooner.
Okay, so someone could get their application together in the next week, submit it, and within 2 weeks they'll hear back.
Absolutely.
But they'll hear about the scholarship after the end of November.
Yes, yes.
Okay, great.
In fact, it is the case that in education, we're already making offers. So a number of offers have already gone out in education. I think at least 7 have been sent in the last couple of days. And there's another 20 or so in the pipeline. So keep them rolling in, folks.
There is one question from someone who I thought was Pamela, but it could have gotten mixed up. The question was, can someone explain the pathways for Year 12 students? It's quite a general question, but someone want to take that? Because we've already talked about going into the diploma first as a pathway into the bachelor's. We've talked a bit about VET, but maybe someone wants to elaborate on that.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on where you're starting. You could be a Year 12 student who's thinking of what we call starting university early. You could accept an offer now into an undergraduate program if you qualified for that. There are schools in which we are offering VET programs down to Year 10, and you get credit for those if you qualify at a Cert 4 or higher going into an undergraduate program. There are advanced standing programs, depending upon what you've already done. If you've got leadership and various other sorts of things, which you can apply for. So if you're a Year 11 student now, for example, then you'll need to finish at the end of the year, get your results and apply. If you're a Year 12 student now, then you can apply now and have an offer before the end of the year, probably actually before you sit the HSC. So now that's not uncommon in universities, because most professional programs, the best person to do the job is not always the person who gets the highest marks. And so we interview students and we look at their whole of life pattern and what they desire to do. And quite often what we find, and this is the case with some universities like the University of Newcastle Medical Program, for example, they prefer the best person to be the professional, as opposed to a person who can sit exams. So that's the logic behind the current pathway. That nothing stops you, of course, from going through and doing great and doing really well in your HSC and just following the normal pathway. However, these offers, as Michael was explaining, will have a sort of a date on them, and they'll need to be accepted by a certain date before the end of the year. So it's a great opportunity, one I think which those of us who are older wished we had in school. Is that not the case, Dr. Hastings?
Indeed, it would have taken a lot of pressure off.
And I just want to reiterate what Mark has said, which is that we look at the whole person. So while I've said that the early offers technically close at the end of November, there's nothing stopping anyone from applying for any of our programs all the way up until the first semester of next year, which starts in March. So you have until then to decide. And we also have rolling intakes throughout the year. So some of our courses have intakes 4 times a year, mirroring the school terms. Some of our courses have two intakes, semester 1, semester 2, and then some have intakes even during summer. So we are very flexible.
I think the exception to that, as Dr. Hastie will say, is that if you're planning to take up cadetship and apply to one of our cadetship programs in teacher education, they start teaching in the last week of January, first week of February. So you'd have to be pretty motivated and on the ball to get into those. They're quite competitive, but they effectively lead you almost to a guaranteed job position at the end of your studies, and you come out with a vastly superior exposure to schooling and to the best in practice in schools, because you get mentors with you all the way through the program. It is really a very special program.
And that is that's actually again completely uniquely in Australian tertiary, is we actually structure the course delivery to match a school term, whereas in standard tertiary you have a university semester. So we actually deliver the units in a school term, which means that the cadets are able to have a holiday, but then work in their study aligned with their actual school work that they're doing. So it's quite a bit more intense than being just a standard student in education, where you're going on your pracs when they're required, but you're not having to turn up to school every week. But definitely worth it.
And there was a question around chaplaincy. How does the chaplaincy course work? And we have, as I mentioned earlier, we have a number of opportunities for study with chaplaincy. There's our Certificate 4 and Higher Ed Diploma, which both work through intensives and then some online material as well. And within the bachelor program, a person can major in chaplaincy. The practical experience is that throughout all courses that we actually have a practical component to it, with a certain number of hours of practical experience, sort of on-site in a chaplaincy role, be it in a school. Some people who are in the army already choose to come to Alpha Crucis to do their chaplaincy training, and a student actually gets to choose their target area. So we teach both generally, which means in a broad range of ideas around chaplaincy, but also there's sort of specific units. For example, one is working in schools, which is specifically looking at a chaplain in a school environment. However, we also look at chaplaincy in other settings as well.
Thanks, Beck. We've just had a question around the Diploma of Music industry, of what ways can I prepare myself for the auditions. Is there someone who might be able to answer that one?
I think that's probably a Sam question, given that we have no music industry people online tonight.
That's okay. No, I can answer that one. So the audition is really just the candidate who's applying demonstrating that they have basic music skill. The specifics of the Diploma of Music industry, it's not a conservatorium course designed to make you a virtuoso musician. It's a course that's designed to train you, to prepare you to work in the music industry, or to understand the music industry, or to acquire some basic skills that working musicians need. And so that basically means that the level of musical ability you have has to be enough that you can do some assessments, but it doesn't need to be master level, amazing virtuoso. So the audition will be something like a 2-minute video of you playing guitar to a camera, or playing piano, or maybe there's an instrument of choice that you have which is more relevant, and then you can perform. And that camera just need be a smartphone, something simple like that, or perhaps you've got something on YouTube already, you've done a performance for your friends or something like that. You could submit that video link as your version of the audition. So it's not a highly complex video, just enough to demonstrate that you've got some basic music skill, enough to build on for skills, say, like performing in an ensemble or writing your own music or doing some basic recording and engineering, you've got to be able to start somewhere to record something. So if you're a musician, you have a passion for music and you have an instrument you like noodling around on, and that perhaps this might be the first time you've recorded yourself, but enough that you can then do some tasks and gain the assessments. But you're not going to be asked to, you don't have to be Amadeus or anything like that, no.
Thanks for that, Sam. We just wanting to know if there's any other questions that anyone has at the moment that are burning, that people would love to hear from some of the faculty who are on board tonight. Otherwise, this might be the last opportunity, but we will have Sam and other people who you can contact and talk to about the degrees or about any of the courses that you've heard about tonight or any of the other ones that we offer. So please feel free. You can post another question, but otherwise we might be wrapping up soon. Maybe we should just go over some of the key points, if that's all right, David, on early entry and early offers and key requirements for that.
Yeah, well, I mean, the key requirements are that get the documentation together from your Year 11 results. Make sure that you get onto that sooner rather than later. Chasing teachers around at the end of term 3 after the particular year that we've had is going to be a bit of an adventure. So get onto that. If you're planning on going down that pathway, and you haven't yet got onto getting those documents together and getting your teachers to sign off on it, then I would say start tomorrow. Because I can tell you something, once the teachers hit the holidays, they're going to have a very well-deserved break. So you don't want to be trying to chase them in the holidays. And you don't want to be trying to chase them while you're sitting your first HSC exams in October. So yeah, get onto it, and I'm sure that your teachers, your careers advisors, your year advisors, they'll all be keen to help, because we're all getting together. We're all standing alongside you and behind you to make sure that this will be a year that is as normal as possible for you. It's a tough year for people in Year 12, but you're not alone.
David, we just had one question come through, and maybe someone can answer whether if someone doesn't receive an early offer, will they get notified?
Well, absolutely. If there's a reason for the early offer, yeah, absolutely. We will certainly keep you in the loop. If you're making an application for an early offer, yes, absolutely, you will be notified.
I think one of the key points which has been made quite well is that this is a way of relieving the stress from students who've gone through interesting times. There are multiple points of entry. My father always used to say, and he was a school principal, he used to say there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat. My apologies to those people who love cats. But you know, there's a million ways. This is the great myth about the HSC. There's a million ways to actually make your way in life. So if you can't start at degree level immediately, that doesn't mean you can't enrol in a Cert 4 or a VET diploma or the higher education diploma. So when you apply, if you don't get an early offer for the particular thing for which you've applied, then the best thing is just engage with people like Sam, engage with the student services at Alpha Crucis College, ring the faculty, and we'd be more than happy to try and find a way in. Now, one of the things we're doing at the moment with some of the larger schools around New South Wales, for example, is to have a joint experiential Year 13, where people go off and they do things which actually count towards their diplomas. And the diploma is effectively the first year of the degree, like the higher education diploma of business is the first year of the Bachelor of Business degree. In the same way, the Diploma of Arts program in social sciences is the first year of the social sciences degree, and the Diploma of Arts in Education is the first year of the Bachelor of Education degree. So if you don't get straight into the undergraduate degree, there are always other ways into the program. It just may take a little more preparation. And that's just a matter of advice, patience, but there is a program for you.
Absolutely. Well, it would seem that our meeting is drawing to a natural conclusion. Are there any other comments that the panelists would like to make, or questions that participants would like to ask?
Just
got one
more.
If you receive an early offer, are you able to defer it? That's an interesting question. Sam, do you have an answer to that question?
I think if one was to go through with the early offer to the point where they're ready to go, they've accepted it, and then they decide to change directions and defer it, there'd be options and ways to discuss that moving forward. It's not a deal breaker, that's for sure, but that particular person who might be changing, yeah, they can defer, and we can figure out ways to map out the gap or what the person might want to be doing in the interim. Because we definitely don't want to lose you, that's for sure. We definitely want to see you on campus and in classrooms soon. So yeah, that's not a problem, but we definitely talk you through the next steps. So.
All right, good. Well, it's been lovely sharing with you this evening, all around the country, and you know, we wish a great blessing on your household wherever you are, whatever you're doing tonight, whatever you're facing, you know, it is our absolute pleasure to walk this journey alongside you. And so don't hesitate to contact us with any further queries. If you're watching a recording of this, you were unable to attend the webinar, but you're watching a recording, that offers obviously to you as well. Make sure that you get in touch, and we'll endeavour to address all of your queries in a timely fashion. Well, folks, how about I draw this meeting to an end and wish you all a very good evening.